Alright, so a couple people have been curious about what I use for spray mask when we're masking up these jobs here. As you can see on this particular one, we're painting the right side, the whole left side of the car, and pretty much the majority of the car is not getting painted. What I use is from 3M. It's called Overspray mask. It's a liquid spray mask. It's kind of like spraying soap on something. It creates like a film, and it's a water-based product. So what you really just need is some air movement to get it to dry. But you put it on as like one thick coat, and it creates almost like a saran wrap coating. And so all you have to do is essentially wash it off when you're done. Now this particular car here, you can see it's already been done. This job's painted, ready to untape. This whole front end, everything, the moldings, the glass, the wheels and tires, everything was sprayed with the spray mask. So it's designed to coat everything. And at the same time, you can see here in this windshield, you can see the dust and dirt. Now all that is stuck on there. So it locks down all of your trash that you may actually have sitting on top of the job. So you don't exactly have to clean everything super perfect. You know, you don't have to wash every single car, but it will lock all your trash and all your junk down, so you don't have to worry about it getting in your paint job. So one of the main reasons I use spray mask is simply the environment I'm in. Now a lot of guys use plastic. I use a lot of plastic depending on what's going on. Plastic masking is a little bit faster to me, but spray mask is a more covered, more overspray prevention to me than plastic. Now, number one reason for that is simply my environment. So this is a semi-downdraft paint booth. So you see the air comes in the top and the air exits the rear wall. Now, if I'm using plastic in here, what ends up happening is air gets underneath the car, and so does overspray. If the air's getting under there, overspray's getting under. Now, a lot of people will tape along the edge of the car on the floor, or you can kind of tuck your plastic underneath to try to help mitigate that. But without a downdraft, you're not actually kind of pulling a vacuum on the car, so you're really not getting that plastic sealed to it. So in that case, you're liable to have overspray get on stuff. So to me, spray mask does a much better job. And plus, like I say, you can do just about anything. There's a couple don'ts when it comes to spray mask, and one of those would be fresh paint. Just the same way you wouldn't put plastic over top of fresh paint. You know, if this car was getting put together and somebody scratched this door and now I have to repaint the door, I'm gonna have to paper off this whole quarter panel, and I'm gonna have to paper off that whole door. I wouldn't put plastic on it either, but you still would not put this stuff on fresh paint. Also, when it comes to putting a car outside, you would not put a car outside when you've got spray mask on there. Now, it's okay to bake it in the paint booth, you know, at 140 degrees, what's typical of a lot of paints. But outside, you can get a lot hotter temperatures, especially in the summertime, with that sun baking down on a car, and you don't want to do that because you will bake that spray mask to the car, and it will not want to wash off, and then you're going to have a whole nother nightmare. Now, something else you don't want to use spray mask on would be a fabric, such as a convertible top. If you have any type of material that is going to soak up a product, you wouldn't spray that on there. So if you had a convertible, you would simply tape off the convertible top with plastic or paper, and then you could use your spray mask everywhere else. But you don't want to put it on anything that can absorb the product, because then it's not going to do any good for overspray, because now the overspray is just going to land and get caught up in the product as well. All right, so obviously you're going to end up with a little bit of overspray getting on your panels that you've got ready to paint. It's not a big deal. All you need to do is take a wet rag. This is a water-based product. Take a wet rag, wipe those panels down. You'll get that little bit of overspray to come right on off. If you're using a waterborne pre-cleaner, just go ahead and do your typical waterborne cleaner on there. Do your typical routine, and you won't have to worry about having this stuff on the panel. Everything will be just fine. Now, when it comes to masking a car up to get it where you can spray mask it, one of the things you need to do is what you see here. I have 18 inches of paper from where I'm going to stop painting to, you know, what I want to mask off. You need to have that paper barrier between there, because this stuff is designed to prevent overspray from sticking on the car, which in a sense is just like having dust on the car. Now, if you were to spray an actual coat of paint over top of where you've laid spray mask, the water can no longer penetrate to the spray mask to get it to release and melt off. You've sealed over it with the paint and created a situation where it can no longer get water. Then you're going to have another problem. Now you've got stuck on slime and you've got stuck on paint. So you do have to take that extra step. You've got to put paper all the way around everything. And at the same time, you'll notice this paper is sealed up. I do this to make sure that there is no holes, no cracks where everything, you know, anything can get underneath there. Some people used to take it and they'd spray mask the car with the paper kind of laid back, and then they'd stick it to the car while it was wet and kind of use the slime or the spray mask as something to kind of glue it down, and that could just make a mess, and then you can still run into issues with that actually lifting off. So it's always best to go ahead and just tape it all the way around your outside edge. You can see it's been done all the way down the roof, you know, all the way around where I've put it. You know, in this scenario here, I just went ahead and covered the entire wheel. There's no sense in trying to spray mask that wheel because I still need to put paper. Now, like I was saying, this stuff is kind of like saran wrap. When you kind of pull your tape off, it'll sometimes come off in a layer depending on how thick you've put it on there. But all you got to do is get it wet and it'll all wash off. You can see here where it's a film lifting up. It's a lot like saran wrap. Sometimes you can pull this stuff off in sheets. But that's all it is. That's what it turns into. It's almost like saran wrap, but it will melt. It melts with water. So that's what spray mask is. Realistically, I think it costs a little bit more than it does when you're using plastic, because plastic, you don't need as much paper, you don't need quite as much tape as what I use when I do this. So it can be a little cheaper to use plastic, but depending on your environment, I prefer spray mask most of the time because I can get every single thing coated and covered and I don't have to worry about overspray. All right, so hopefully you learned a little something. If you did, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and tap that bell. I'll catch you on the next one.